Hi guys, me again, Sam from the Unity of Life, and today we are now looking at episode 4 of Drive to Survive, which is on Netflix, which is a documentary series that looks at all the F1 teams and it takes a look at behind the scenes more than the actual racing. So that's why I watched it, because it's a bit more interesting, because there's quite a lot of drama going on behind those scenes that you may not actually be aware of if you've never seen that documentary. Okay, so this episode was really focused just on Red Bull and the relationship between Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, as they were teammates for and driving for Red Bull back in 2018. Please remember, this was 2018. Okay, so let's get into it. So one thing that I've noticed with all these sports is that there is huge rivalries, right? These rivalries, they're in every single sport. It's part of package of being an athlete. You're not going to get on with everybody in this life, and you're certainly not going to get on with everybody you work with, especially these people that you are put against, because you want to be that top spot. You want to be the best version of yourself. You want to be the best driver and the most famous person in the world, because you get lots and lots of money. It must be nice. So at this point, there was actually rivalry between teams rather than actual teammates, and it was more to do with rivalry between Red Bull and Renault, because at this point Red Bull were buying engines from Renault, and they had been for the past 12 years at this point, and they had this like love-hate relationship, but as you would know, dun dun dun, there was engine problems in this season, and Red Bull had had enough and decided that they were going to look elsewhere to get their engines. And Renault, I believe that they may have also had a few engine problems, and they were very offended that Red Bull were taking their business somewhere else. So please keep that in mind. So not only was there rivalry between the two teams at this point, but there was rivalry within Red Bull between Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, which it's not always the case with teammates, but it can happen. As you will probably be aware of when you watch some of these, they race each other, they crash into each other, and it's very frustrating for the team. So one thing that I have learned, and it still stands true today, since Max kicked a tyre in one of the previous races in the 2021 racing series, is that he's a bit of a sore loser. And you know, he really doesn't like it when he doesn't win. He does come off as a bit of a sport brat himself when this happens. It's not the most maturest thing in the world. I get that it must be so frustrating to be driving and something goes wrong or you've not won. That has to be really frustrating, because you know that's the whole purpose. That's the only reason you're there, is to win. And when that doesn't happen, you know, it unfortunately it's one of those things. Life gets in the way, things go wrong. So it was in the 2019 series that we meant, because I've already mentioned about these engine problems that they were having. So it was 2019 in which Red Bull decided that they weren't going to buy their engines from Renault anymore. So there was actually a lot of childish behaviour and bitterness between the teams, and these are like the team managers, not actually the teammates, and they're grown men, they're like middle-aged, and they were acting like children. I've seen like toddlers act and behave with much more tact and pause in a schoolyard than I have between these grown men. You know, they take these things to heart. This is their whole entire life, and when things go wrong and there's these rivalries, it's very interesting. Just how much bitterness there is and how much childish behaviour that there is. It just goes to show you that some people just do not grow up and mature. But it is entertaining for everybody else. I'm not gonna lie, it is quite fun to watch other people have a few little childish spots that make your life seem much more nicer at that point in time. So Daniel's advisor thought that Red Bull prioritised Max over Daniel, and trying to get to be Max to be the first, the youngest world champion, and trying to beat Sebastian Vettel's record, who was driving for Red Bull at the time that he won his I think it was his first world championship. I think he won all his 3 championships with them, and he was the youngest world championship when he was driving for Red Bull. So they were really wanting to repeat that legacy from Max, which, like I have always mentioned, has not happened. So Sebastian actually won and became the youngest championship to be in 2010. So things went wrong with the car. There was some issues with Max's car, and he spat his dummy out. His team, they got in touch with him and they said, you're going to have to retire the car. We don't know what the problem is. It's not a problem that we can fix remotely. You're going to have to retire the car and come out of the race. And it's a huge disappointment to the team when you have to retire a car, because, like I said, you really want to get into that podium. You really want to have at least both of your drivers up on there, because you can get more points for the Constructor Championship, which they've really been trying to outdo Mercedes in for quite some time. And like I said, this 2021 season is very interesting between Red Bull and Mercedes. So Max eventually did retire the car after not really wanting to and trying to continue with the race. And there was a lot of swearing. So to top things off in this 2018 series between Renault and Red Bull, they got kicked while they were down, because Daniel decided that he was going to then, for 2019, he was going to be driving for Renault. And there was a lot of tension going on between these two teams in 2018 over the whole engine situation. So for Daniel to go and jump on and drive for them was a real kicker for Red Bull, and they were very bitter about this. They weren't happy with his choice at all, but I personally, I don't blame Daniel for wanting to move and going to another team who would want him and who would maybe appreciate him much better, because, like I said, he dedicated quite a lot to Red Bull. He'd been with that team since he made his F1 debut, and they just weren't showing him any loyalty whatsoever, and he had just had enough. There's no point staying somewhere that you are not wanted. So because he went and switched, Daniel was switching to Reynolds, that meant that Reynolds had to let go of one of their drivers, and the driver that they let go was actually Carlos, and he didn't have a seat at this point. So that meant Carlos, even though maybe he wasn't even considering looking at another team, he had no choice. He was getting forced to move on and moving to another team. And this is a very stressful time for drivers, because there is only 20 seats in these 10 teams, and if you can't find one of those 20 seats, you are left, unfortunately, without a seat, and you cannot drive for that season. And that has happened to a few drivers, and we'll go into that a little bit in later episodes with one of them. So basically, when it all came down to the teams for the drivers, it's where the drivers feel like that they are wanted, and they're not going to race for a team that's got no loyalty towards them and is pushing them out. I certainly wouldn't. So again, that's all I have for today. I know this video has been actually pretty short in comparison to some of the other videos that I have done on this channel, but like I've mentioned, some episodes, they speak more to me than others, because some are a bit more interesting for me than others. That's just my personal opinion. So please don't forget to comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And I will see you next time in this wonderful shed when we talk about Drive to Survive episode 5. Bye!